The worst way to leave a rental property every day in real estate, it's probably one of the hardest things for tenants, for landlords, and for agents. Let's talk about it right now.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Oh,
Good morning.
Good morning.
good morning. Sam, you've been leveling up, buddy.
Yeah, I grew in the past 2 weeks, Mark.
It's been astronomical.
Wow. So for anyone who doesn't know, Charlie to the right is 6. How tall are you?
Definitely getting up there. I'd say around the 6'7" mark. Hate to brag, but
6'7", 6'8". And Sam, how tall are you?
6'3".
oh, it's 6'9".
On a good
So
day. On a good day. No, I'll get off. I'm
So
currently standing on some A3 pieces of paper. This is me off.
Oh, can you show us?
Yeah.
Can you show us the paper?
Yeah. It's all in the perception.
There you go. So thanks for leveling up today.
All good.
So gents, what are we talking about?
Today
What's the lesson for today?
It's definitely it's one of the most important lessons I think is going around real estate at the moment, where it's summertime, end of the year or start of the new year. Sorry, leases are ending. Everyone's wanting to know how they should leave their property. Some people are confused. Some people haven't been told before. Some people just blatantly haven't done it before. But we're talking about one of the worst ways to leave a rental property. What your obligations are, what the landlord's requesting you do, and what your lease says from when you initially signed it, what you've signed yourself up to agree to. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
Do you want to start us off, Sam?
Yeah,
What is the worst way to leave a rental property? How could you just absolutely butcher it?
Look, I think it's very important that we talk about the vacating process. So once you give your week's notice, or your 3 weeks notice, I should say, that you're leaving the property, a good real estate agent will send you a couple emails just saying what to do before you vacate. Here are your dates. And they'll also, a good real estate agent will recommend cleaners as well. A lot of the time, tenants don't have time to do a proper clean of their property. People are busy people, so it does help getting that professional cleaner in and just, paying that extra money just to get it over and done with. Another thing as well with, the professional cleaners, that can also be taken out of your bond money for when you moved in. So that $300 clean, which will make you all good, set in stone, might be worth just taking out of your bond, just so you don't have to worry about it and everything's done.
Yeah, look, I'll throw it back to you.
Guys, this is... Yep.
As a landlord yourself, what do you expect from when you have vacating tenants? How do you expect to walk into your property as a landlord yourself and have a quick look around?
Look, I expect to get how I gave the property to the tenant. I think that's sort of fairly consistent with most landlords, where you have to allow for normal wear and tear. So it's a family of 5. The normal wear and tear of a family of 5 for however long the duration they were there. But guys, this is really contentious, because this piece here is really where it goes wrong between landlord and tenant. Most of all in a real estate agency, like it's the biggest beef that tenants have, that it wasn't like that when I took the property, or it was like that when I took the property. Yeah, it's a big problem.
Yeah, look, that we've got a simple fix for it as well, which is the good part. It's in the shape of your ingoing condition report. Now, this is something for a lot of people that is just collected on the day when you have your keys, filled out, sent back to us, and then completely forgotten about.
Just before you continue, for people that don't know what an ingoing condition report is, it's a file, also a checklist of what the property is like.
In super specific detail. down to every last nook and cranny, how we found the property, what's clean, what's not clean, what's damaged, what's not damaged, in an attempt to not put any blame on the ingoing tenants for damage that was already pre-existing. And then obviously to have a list of what was initially damaged, what was initially cleaned, and what we can then cross-reference at the end of every tenancy.
And that will also come with photos and images of the property. So there is evidence of what we're talking about in that checklist as well.
Yeah.
So just for anyone that didn't know.
So guys, when a tenant moves out, just like in terms of numbers, how many properties because you guys are renting like 60 properties a month. So how many properties percentage-wise would be left perfect without intervention from the agent or the landlord?
Look, I'd say a good 50% of properties.
Really?
Roughly, yeah. So people are definitely good at it. People who have leased before, been through the process, they know what to expect. And most of the time, they pop a professional cleaner in there. They spend an hour or two just having a really good clean. They send us a receipt, and then no worries. Everyone's happy. Landlord's happy. We're happy. Tenants happy. However, I do believe it's another 50% or the next 50%. Who don't leave it in an adequate state, who definitely just need a bit of following up on. And I'd say it then does get that broken up even further. I was about to do that. Yeah, into 25% of people who are comfortable and happy to agree as per their lease, and then another 25% who unfortunately do kind of take it as an insult. So it's an arm wrestle.
So 1 out of 4 is a little bit of an arm wrestle between the landlord and the tenant.
Yeah.
50%, it's sweet, doesn't need anything to be done. 25%, they just need a little bit of a tap, and they'll go back and do this or do that.
Yeah. Look, what we do go on, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say what we do as an agency as well. We're all for the tenant. It's a common misconception that we're out to get them. We're out to get as much money as possible. We just want a professional cleaner. That's not normally the case. So in a circumstance, we find a property, it's got a few cleaning issues that need to be addressed. We're more than happy to give keys back to the tenant, say, look, if you'd like to go back in, have a quick clean, address the issues that need addressing. That's more than fine. Instead of just jumping straight on the bond saying this is what we're taking out, in most circumstances we will be in a position to allow access to go back in, which is something we're not legally obligated to do. However, more than happy to in the case of a happy tenant. But yeah.
So Charlie, the worst 25%, that sector there, the 1 in 4, that like we don't agree, it was like that when we had it. What's the sort of stuff that goes wrong? So we are today, guys. It's a live show. If you've got any questions, ask us. If you're on the Novak Facebook channel, but my question to you, gents, is that you've said 1 in 4. It's normally like there's a disagreement between the landlord and the tenant, and then they don't really want to go back and.
Yeah.
What are some of those things? What are the worst things that you see people actually do on these properties?
Yeah, look, I'll just give it's not that exciting, but look, carpet, carpet over time gets wear and tear. There's stains in it. You're living in the property. There's obviously going to be a bit of spills.
Yeah.
And a bit of marks here and there.
It holds smells, it holds moisture. It just, if you've got a bad carpet, you can definitely make the jump and say you've got a bad property. So yeah, carpet's definitely one of the biggest ones we see. For something that's
so
not
stains on carpet, and a tenant will sometimes say that was there. You'll say no, it wasn't there. You go back to the original condition report. What are the other worst things you've seen in those 1 in 4 properties that are vacated?
Oh, it's a tricky one. There's been so many. Look, it's most of the time it's not too bad. You get some one-off cases where there's a hole in the wall you've never seen before, and you could swore you didn't see it on the ingoing condition report, which needs a bit of a following up. General property damage isn't.
Is that a rage hole?
Yeah, a rage hole.
Rage hole.
Yeah, like
Wow.
Like, look, if you're sometimes I've had to deal with, replacement of toilets. That can be a bit of a process when you have new tenants moving in and the toilets, not there at the moment because the plumber's, helping out and getting things organized. But it's very rare, but it does happen.
That'd be wear and tear, though, wouldn't it? Or a tenant's breaking these in their lease.
The tenant's broken the toilet. I don't know what's happened. I don't want to know what's happened, but a couple toilet replacements, which is a bit odd, but I guess it's normal.
Look, most of the time it's not too bad, but obviously when we've got tenants moving in and a property's been left in a state that it's not acceptable, there's dust on the windowsill, there's marks in the shower door, stuff like that. It's not normally too bad. However, these are just things that someone's got to do, but no one really wants to.
Yeah.
And so that's our job, trying to find the middleman.
All right. So before we conclude, the things we watch out that we've sort of talked about, the amount of tenants that leave it great, don't leave it great, things like that. Now, there is a heavy importance there on the inspection, the initial inspection that was done on the property in writing. So I think there's got to be a big emphasis today on making sure that the ingoing condition report is checked by the tenants when they take the property and signed off on, because often they won't sign off on it. They'll just take it as the agent, and they'll leave that dispute to when they go to move out. So there is a massive importance into that document called the ingoing report.
Yeah, that has to be the biggest takeaway, guys. If anyone's listening who doesn't have an ingoing condition report, who's renting through us, simply ask. That's all it takes. It is a document that's first given to you. However, we keep it on file. We're more than happy to send it out throughout the tenancy. And it really just does come down to a little list that just really marks everything that needs to be done. And if those things are done, it's going to be a successful tenancy. But if it goes, I guess, unnoticed, then it can cause a bit of trouble sometimes.
Okay, so by law, that ingoing inspection has to be done as well. So if you do lose it as a tenant, you do have the right to ask the agent to furnish you with another copy of that. So don't stress. But it is really the holy grail and a bit of a Bible when you move out. Now, before we go, it's the worst case scenario. Landlord doesn't agree with how the tenant's left the property. Tenant doesn't agree with how the landlord wants the property. What are the options there? Agents tried to broker a deal between both. Shit's actually hit the fan. Tenants sort of said, screw you, not coming back. What are the options there for a tenant and for a landlord? I'd imagine like it would be like a tribunal situation, or where do you go from there?
Look. That's. Sorry, do you want to go?
No, you go.
Look, that's why we have their bond there. So that's what we're able to use. And sometimes when it comes down to a case of F you, I don't want to come back, that's where we kind of go to the bond. If the bond's already been claimed, then like you said, Mark, it does go to a tribunal stance where we can actually sit down in front of a third party and discuss all the I guess incidents and say, look, this is what's happened. This is what we want to do. This is what we're obligated to do. And then I think, like you always say it all the time, it's fair trading. It comes to a fair resolution. Not everyone might be happy, but I guess that's our legal system for us.
So I guess when it's the ultimate dispute resolution, that when that dispute can't be resolved by the agent brokering it between the landlord and the tenant, then there is a government department that will actually manage that dispute and find resolution in that dispute. So everyone goes to the tribunal. They spend a couple of hours there. They walk out with a solution. And like you said, normally both people have sore heads, both the landlord and the tenant, when they walk out of that. But that's finite. That's finished. Once that's done, that's it. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, Yeah, but it's wonderful. I think
It's a very interesting topic. You know,
Definitely so.
real estate agents don't talk about it enough, or property managers, I should say. You know, it is one of the biggest things when dealing with or when having tenants as well. So,
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah, look, when you're like pissed with your agent as a tenant, or you know, you're upset. I shouldn't say it's a nice way of saying it. With your agent, and you believe the way you left the property is the way you actually took the property in the beginning. It's probably one of those most sensitive parts of our business, and something that, you know, we really try to manage that process as well as possible.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, the better communication, the better the reporting, the more the willingness to work with your landlord and the tenant. How many? Because if we're doing 60 a month of properties being rented out, how many would actually hit the fan and go to tribunal on a dispute resolution on the way that property's been left?
Look, we've gone months without a tribunal action, so they are definitely the blue moon scenario. It definitely is rare. Like we said, it's definitely an option. However, we definitely see it as a blue moon option, or as like a final resort if no one will budge.
Yeah.
If all options have previously been exhausted, then we'll go to tribunal. So I'd say maybe on a bad stretch, maybe we might have one every month. On a good stretch, we might go 2-3 months without having to go.
Yeah, and like what Michelle's saying, it's a good sign of an agent managing well dispute resolution, because I think you know, when you consider those numbers of 60 properties a month that we're renting, and that we're probably in there 1 out of 50, if you're doing 25 a month that are a bit how you're going, that's an excellent number. But I do have to say, guys and girls, sometimes a lazy agent can rely on that tribunal process more often than not. So rather than communicating well up front, getting the documentation immaculate up front to save yourself on that tribunal in the end. So often you'll find that a shit agency and a not reputable agency will be taking tenants to tribunal more often, because they haven't got their processes and their paperwork up front. So if you are a tenant and you are looking for a rental, I think going through a reputable agent will help you in that process, and also as a landlord, because landlords are paying for that tribunal quite a lot through their agent, quite a lot. So if you can minimise that, it's going to cost your landlord less money as well.
Exactly. Awesome. Thanks for speaking with us, Mark.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Hopefully we help people out there.
Oh, beautiful. Thanks, guys.
Lovely.
See ya. Bye, mate.